Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Showcase series presented by IoT for All. I'm Ryan Chacon, and on today's episode, we are going to talk about how to manage over-the-air updates for your devices with Nitrium. It is a tool created by Geisel Software, and the CEO, Ryan Geisel, joins me today. They are a custom software company. If you have not already subscribed to our channel, please do so. Hit that bell icon to get the latest episodes as soon as they're out, and give this video a thumbs up. But other than that, let's get on to the episode. Welcome, Brian. Thanks for taking time to chat with me today. I really appreciate it.
Hey, yeah, happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So let's kick this off by having you give a quick introduction about yourself and the company for our audience.
Yeah, I'm Brian Geisel from Geisel Software. We're a software development firm. We do a lot in the Internet of Things, in robotics, and in space applications. And we also have a product called Nitrium, which is an over-the-air update tool.
So our goal today is to kind of talk about Nitrium as well as just the value of over-the-air updates, what they are, how they work, why what the benefit is for the industry. I'd love it if you could just kind of start off by telling our audience, just for those who may be a little bit new to this, what over-the-air updates are for devices, what the value they provide, and kind of the role they play.
Yeah, that sounds like a great way to start. So, if you think about what they aren't, is you used to have to deploy a new device. So whenever you put out a device and then you had a new one or you had updates for it or you wanted to change something about it, everyone had to buy your new device. Or you had to ship out a replacement device if there was a real serious issue with it. So now in the world of software, which is certainly, for a very long time, is you can push updates to a device that you actually deployed to the field live,
Hmm.
and people can get those updates. If you think about things like your operating system, if you're running on Windows or Mac or Linux, you get
Right.
updates all the time to that operating system, and you, the human, click and say, yes, I'll take these updates, or now's a good time, or whatever. In IoT, you have these updates that need to come to the device that you, the human, don't necessarily know about. There might not even really be a human in the loop. And so it's a way to update the software on the device, that is anywhere and may not necessarily have human interaction on the device itself.
Yeah, I think it's important to really differentiate how those are even handled, right? Like with your phone, you get that update or a device you may have kind of on your person, you accept it, you're good to go. But with a lot of these devices in the IoT space, they're out in the field. Like there's not a physical person that can go, and a lot of them don't even have an interface per se that you can go around and kind of manually have to do this. So being able to kind of send this out to all devices, have it all be up to date when it comes to the firmware that needs to be updated, I think is a critical piece to being able to scale and grow IoT deployments.
Yeah, I always think of my token device is a device in the middle of a bog that measures pH.
Hmm.
And it sits with a battery that lets it last for a year or 2 years in the middle of this bog. And no one
Right.
wants to storm out in the middle of a bog to touch the device to update it or anything else. It has to be self-sufficient out there.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's the case for a lot of solutions. And just generally speaking, devices that are all going to be all over the place is it physically possible to manually engage with them all. So this is a very important piece to kind of that whole component. But as we kind of talk about Nitrium itself, that's the solution that you all have for this. Can you kind of set the stage for our audience on what it is, what it does, kind of why it exists, and what's very different about it from, I guess, how other companies would handle over-the-air updates?
Yeah. So as a company, we helped a lot of companies build their IoT devices and platforms and so forth. And what we found was over and over again, we were building the firmware over the air update solution for them, bespoke. And we said, this is silly. Let's build a generalized solution so everyone can get the benefit from this. And so we still see a lot of folks building their own. And as you mentioned, there are some others out there now. And so the biggest thing I think is the things that we've integrated from things that we've seen from our customers that they needed, and some of the things that we're still building into the platform. And those are things that if you're building it custom, you tend to not take the time to build because you just got to get your device out there. The biggest thing you're worried about is not your OTA updates to start with. The biggest thing is to get customers and be profitable and these kinds of things. And so Nitrium gives you the ability to skip over all that, so you just have a solution that will already handle the deployments for you. But it does a few things that I think are interesting, and one of those is that you can do rollouts, and so based on some specifics of your device, this is some of the stuff that's actually coming. So it could be things like location, whether that's a GPS location of the
Hmm.
device or that's just state you shipped it to or that kind of thing. So if you wanted to do something like rollouts based on time zones, or you want to do rollouts based on usage of the device, or so you can do some monitoring from your side of your particular device. I think that's one of the things that's kind of unique about the Internet of Things is how many different applications, how many different use cases, how varied they all are. So you can take data from what you're doing with your device that's specific to you and use that to apply to how you're going to do a rollout, which is when you do an update, generally you don't want to just update all your devices.
Right.
What happens if in your testing you did in your lab, everything worked great, but when you roll it out to your devices, you find out you missed something and half of the devices get bricked when you update, right? And so
Right.
you want to make sure that you're doing a rolling update. You update maybe 1% of those devices first, or you update your beta set first, and then you update your 1% of your live pieces and so forth. And so you do a rolling update. And so that's part of it. I think the other part is that CI/CD has really become a thing in the industry, especially with deploying web apps, but with deploying all kinds of things now. And so if you think about in the case of uh, doing it to a web application, you could have a web app set where you have your rules, you have your test cases, you have everything set up so that a developer adds a fix. It goes through full automated testing and decides that past all the testing, it goes to the live site. Another human doesn't have to get in the loop and necessarily approve it. It
Right.
goes to the live site. You can now do that with some of the stuff that's coming to Nitrium. You can fully integrate it into your CI/CD process. So you essentially have this ability to live update hardware as if it were a website. And so
Mm.
now suddenly all of your customers have the new version of your product
Yeah.
just because it's made it through your CI/CD process.
Fantastic. And how is this right now being used? So, can you talk us through any potential use cases or customers, whether you give their name or not, it's totally fine, just about how this is being used out in the real world and the benefits people are seeing from it?
Yeah. So, some obvious things are people using it for security updates. That's the case where you just absolutely have to do it. And we're still in the process with a lot of our clients are medical. And so the FDA has really been moving in this direction where they really want to see that you have a way to update your device live. Because if there are security issues, and that security issue now is going to be with someone's pacemaker or whatever, that's a real issue. And so the FDA is really pushing to see folks do this for a security update. So we're seeing a lot in this, security update space. The other thing we're seeing is folks that are rolling out new features into their devices. And so they maybe put out their absolute MVP. The nice thing about OTA updates is you can add features as you go, as long as you plan for those in the hardware. You can add, or if they're pure software updates, you can add those things in. Some of the things that we're seeing people sort of dealing with some of the challenges around is, like we mentioned, this device doesn't necessarily have human interaction, but maybe it has human interaction in a way that doesn't, it's not like you or I with our phone where we go, yeah, I want to update. So some of the devices are in a medical adjacent, I'll say, so they're not FDA, under FDA regulation. But
Hmm.
with devices like that, you see nurses or doctors using the device, and you don't want the device right in the middle of a doctor using it going, hey,
Right.
bye, I'm updating right now. And so part of that is integrating the timing of how you're going to do that, whether it's based strictly on a schedule, because we know no one will use this at 2 a.m., or whether it's based on detecting usage patterns and finding a good time to slip in and do the update as well.
Fantastic. For our audience out there who wants to kind of or is interested in something in learning more about Nitrium and connecting, two questions: what's the best way they can do that? And secondly, like, what does the process look like for somebody to bring this into either a upcoming solution deployment or potentially something that's already rolled out?
Yeah. So for rolling it out, we provide an SDK in many different languages on specific to a couple of different platforms, even ESP32 and Raspberry Pi, and some of the more popular stuff that's out there, and SDKs that you could easily modify to your thing. Those we provide free with the platform. And
Okay.
so you can just take the SDK, put it on your IoT device, and it might even give you some basic functionality if you're just very new to developing your device that you can just use from our SDK. And we're happy for you to get those features and use that. And then it's just a SaaS platform where you are just come in and can do a self-service or connect with us, and our sales team's happy to connect with you and walk you through the process, onboard you, and get you into the SaaS platform. Then it's just a web-based portal where you can interact with it and
Okay.
get your updates and get things rolling out. And we have some programs around, free devices or get started, all that kind of thing
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
is on the site. So you can get in pretty easy and just start playing with that without having to worry about being too subscribed to it. And the easiest way is just to go to nitrium.io.
Okay.
Nitrium.io gets you our site, and lets you get straight through the sign up process and all that.
Fantastic. Well, Brian, thank you so much for taking the time to kind of educate our audience on not just this topic, but also Nitrium and what you have going on there, because it sounds like a fantastic product. Really has been built for those end users that are really going to be able to need to understand how to use this, how to push those updates in the correct way, and just better manage the overall deployment. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Hopefully it will help a lot of people. Appreciate it.
All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that episode of the IoT Solution video series from us at IoT for All. If you did, we'd really appreciate it if you would like this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. If you have a potential solution or something in the space that you would love to showcase to our audience, please email me directly at ryan@iotforall.com. I'd be happy to discuss what it is that you have going on and find ways to get that out to our audience. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time.